Hey there, you Mia DC fans, and welcome if you're new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
Mantis.
and we are today doing a special recording on a special day because we just did a reaction to the trailer a few days ago. We wanted to give it some time, and then, after watching it many, many more times, we wanted to do a breakdown not only of the things that we had noticed, but some people on the channel may have changed their opinions about the trailer. Mantis, do
Possibly.
you have any idea who that could be?
I don't. But we could probably find out after we come back.
Or if you, after this one, go watch the video right down below where we reacted to
Oh,
the trailer,
you
you'll know
you
who that
actually
is.
should do that because otherwise, what I'm going to say is not going to make sense. Or I
True.
mean,
True.
the person who changed their mind is going to make sense.
Exactly. So go do that first, then come back. And by then,
Yeah.
we should be done with this intro. All right, guys, we wanted to break down some of the interesting things we saw. Mantis, I know for you, watching the trailer multiple more times was a little bit eye opening.
Hmm. Yeah. As we alluded to in the intro, I said this was meh.
I thought it was meh.
The trailer was kind of meh, which I know pisses Cal off. Which is kind of why I say it. I could have said it was okay, which I don't, or fine. I know those words upset him as well. But meh is just kind of like twisting the knife. And I had changed my mind. I thought it was okay when I first watched it. And again, this is again kind of reiterating what Cal said about us doing reactions. I don't. My first reactions to things aren't always the way they stay. And don't hold me to that. I can change my opinion. And you know, I definitely changed my opinion with this trailer. And to be fair, this is the first full length trailer we've gotten. We had a teaser trailer and then a sneak peek, which are not what this is. And after watching it a few times and kind of taking everything in, this this is definitely more than, or it's not. It is not mediocre the way the way I said it was. This is, to me, I like this trailer, and part of it, or I say maybe the main reason why, is because of the little Easter eggs here and there throughout the trailer that I know we're gonna get into this, but this film I think is going to be made with comic book people in mind, some of the things that you see go on, and we'll discuss all of that. And it kind of made me change my opinion of the trailer. I thought the shots, after looking at them, the shots were very good. We'll discuss that as well, or I will as we go through this. I thought the shots, the action shots were good, and yeah. So I definitely changed my mind on this. I think it's a pretty good trailer. Hopefully, we get another one.
It would be nice, even though we're 2 months out. Most movies 2 months out already have their second or third trailer, final trailer out, and we're just getting the first. However, there are a lot of Easter eggs we are going to break down as I have literally watched this, and I've got it pulled up in DaVinci, and I'm going frame by frame on this to find these. However, I'm sure there are still some I missed. Let me know down in the comments which ones that you caught that maybe I missed, because I don't have a whole team worth of people to watch this to catch every one of them, right? So you guys got to
Yeah.
kind of help me out there with that. So with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and start the trailer. Now, we are not going to just watch it all the way through because we've already done that. We're going to be breaking down as Mantis and I are kind of viewing. I've got it up there. I'll have it up there for you guys, little clips, and we'll stop and talk about them as we go. So, Mantis, are you ready?
Yeah.
Then let's go.
Yeah.
So, here we see this is actually obviously Cleveland, and
Mhm.
I'll have a couple images of Cleveland. We can see there's the building right there. We know there is in Cleveland, and then of course they added several buildings. Like obviously we
Yeah.
see the LexCorp, the bridged towers. We see LexCorp there. We see down here at the bottom left, we see the harbor. The boats there, so we know we're at the harbor. So it's kind of funny to see that because I was like, oh, I have a full picture of what that looks like
And
without those extra buildings.
Yeah, and James Gunn did tweet a couple days ago. He was basically, thanking the city for letting them film there. I saw him tweet that out. So, and I think we did at least one
We
video.
did several videos on the filming within, because
Yeah,
we got some pictures, and then we actually got some bigger fight
behind the scenes.
images and all of
Yeah.
that when all that was going on in downtown Cleveland. So yes, we've already done several videos to that. I'll have them popping up down here below.
Yeah,
You'd let me interview you as Superman.
sure.
But then, we get Lois and Clark, and it's funny because she's like, talk about letting me interview you as Superman. You hear him, he's like, yeah, sure. And he's kind of, he's that higher pitched, kind of, nerdy-ish sound. And then as they're sitting down there, and I don't know if you noticed, Mantis, so if you look there, you could see the picture frame has Lois in
Yeah.
cloud, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So obviously, it's kind of that detail that he at some point went and flew through the clouds to spell Lois for her, and she has a picture of that. But then, we see she goes to record, right, and we see the Lord Tech recorder.
Yes.
A little different than the one I've got. I don't have Lord Tech, but a little different for the voice recorder that I've got. I've got a Zoom.
China Tech.
Yeah. Now, we know, obviously, Maxwell Lord is going to be in this. We also know that Maxwell Lord has showed up in the Peacemaker Season 2 trailer that they had. We know we've seen Maxwell Lord in the Creature Commandos. We've seen Maxwell Lord pop up in the Superman and Lois series. Maxwell Lord, and even in the Supergirl series, Maxwell Lord has been throughout. We've seen him in live action and comics before. He's one of the other big tech guys, kind of Lex Luthor-ish. He is a villain normally. However, we still are unclear to the capacity he's going to be in this. I'm sure he's going to be kind of both, playing the fence, kind of like Lex, right?
Yeah. Again, you mentioned, there's Lord Tech buildings in one of the scenes in the trailer. I'm sure we'll get to that. You do see Lord Tech, and the interesting thing about that is, Maxwell Lord is definitely involved in trying to control metahumans. And there's another scene in this trailer, and we've seen it in all of them, of Superman punching out of he's in a glass cell, essentially, and he punches out of that. And I always thought that was Lex doing that, right?
Well,
But-
let's hold off, because we're going to go through that, because there's more to talk about in that scene that we get more images of. So hold that thought. We're going to come back to that, because there is another couple. When you zoom in, you get to see some other things about that scene. We've got the Lord Tech. We've known that in the original teaser that came out in December, we had the TV that they were showing that had the Luthor Corp's name on it. So we obviously see that we're getting tech in this, in this world.
Let's do it, Cronkite.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
But then we notice, and Mantis had talked about this actually first when we were doing this, that when she's like Superman, and he kind of leans forward and he's like, Miss Lane. Yeah. And then he kind of leans forward. You could tell the register of his voice that he gets that kind of like, almost the Christopher Reeve when he's playing, when he goes into Superman mode, that it's more.
Lois, there's something I have to tell you. I'm really... I was, at first, really nervous about tonight.
Lois. Definitely more serious. So that was nice to see. And then we get the outer shot of where they're out, and we see, parts of the city kind of destroyed, or at least down this street. We see that big ship. Now, to me, that looks like it's part of that ship that when we see Lex in that shot in the sneak peek where he's coming out of it, and we can tell they're in the
out
by the fortress because he's in the snowsuit. That looks like that ship to me.
This is I completely agree. This is a Lex Corp thing. I will say, I do appreciate, if you back it up one frame, I do appreciate the fact that there are a couple.
I think, as we're going frame by frame, and this is 60 frames a second, I have to back it up quite a few frames.
Yeah, I do appreciate the fact, again, something that they kind of got away from for the longest time, and I'm trying to think of if there is anything like this in the OG Christopher Reeve Superman, Richard Donner films. But like the American flag, okay? Like Superman is truth, justice, in the American way. I I don't take James Gunn as a rah rah like go USA USA type of guy from like the Twitter stuff that we've seen from him. He doesn't. If anything, he seems like he's a little bit leaning to like capitalism bad, right? I'm not saying that's his view. I don't know what it is. All I'm saying is I appreciate the fact that they included an American flag in this shot and that it is and they put it in the trailer. And I want Superman to be that hope, that truth, justice, the American way, spreading freedom across the globe, all of that nonsense.
If you remember at the end of Superman 2, when the White House is kind of messed up, so Superman has the American flag and he's got like kind of the top part of the
Technically, yeah.
and he lands it back on the White House and he apologizes. He's like, "Sorry, Mr. President, I won't let you down again." You see that's the last scene. He's there holding on to the American flag.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want.
All right, I've been away so long. I won't let you down again.
Again, Superman, arguably the greatest superhero ever created. Yeah, and no, he's American, right? He's American, and as maybe we'll touch on with the Lois discussion. They do kind of get into a lot of questions of how Superman lives in this 2025 world of just going into different countries. But continue in the next scene.
So, when we go into the next scene, and obviously this is the big he's kind of being hated on scene. We see him walking up to a Stag building right now.
Yes,
it's weird because like you hear Stag Industries, but it's also been referred to as Stag Enterprises. In this, you actually kind of see it as both, but that's Stag Industries and Enterprises. Another one of those companies like LexCorp or Luther Corp, Stag Industries, Cord Enterprises, with you bringing Blue Beetle into it, and then obviously Maxwell Lord's company as well. So it's interesting to see that as well. And he's walking up to the building, right? And there's obviously the big scene of that like the guy throws the the can at him, and there's questions about whether it actually hit him or not. We see his hair move. If you go by the frame, we see his hair move, so the can actually made contact with him, at least. Now, I know there was a lot of controversy over, if you watch the December trailer, he blinks when that happens versus VFX took that out where he doesn't. I was okay with him blinking because I feel like it shows like when he gets hit that it's not that it affected him, more of a, it's that like he's kind of saddened, right? Like that people are turning on him and he's just trying to do good. That is more of like kind of that, like when Clark got hit by it in Man of Steel, when he throws the thing at him, he's like, "Asshole, you forgot your tip," or whatever. He does the same thing almost, I felt like, when you watch the December one. And it's like, it's not that it affected him. It's just more of, he's just like, in that, he was like, "I want to kill that guy." In this, he's just kind of, I feel like he was just, you could see he's not looking too happy.
Yeah, see, I completely disagree. I think that this scene is showing the guy is definitely throwing the whatever can at him. I think the can bounces off of the quote unquote force field that he is generating. And I think it's just the wind that is knocking his hair. And I think they took out the blink because it didn't hit him. And they didn't want Superman to be seen as a little bitch.
But there's also some scenes coming up that may dispel some people believing that it is the aura, because we've done several videos on it before. There's been very few live action that have talked about that. Superman his body is surrounded by an aura that kind of protects him and is that keeps him safe from most normal physical damage that humans or anybody else could inflict. So we don't know that's one of those things that are up in there. There are a couple of those as we go through the trailer here that are up in the air on, people just don't know what it could be. Now, I think it's funny that
the Secretary of Defense said he was going to look into your actions.
We see two different times within the trailer here. So Lois says the Secretary of Defense, and then we see Rick Flag Sr., right? We know he was in Creature Commandos, and even I'll obviously have the Creature Commandos version of him. They styled the hair to try to look like it. His facial hair, everything's supposed to look like it. Now, later on, she will say, "Did you consult with the president?" And then they kick the Lex. So I think that's kind of interesting that they do that. I'm not saying that Rick Flag Sr. is going to be the Secretary of Defense. Yeah, he's obviously in a briefing with them, right?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, in my opinion, this isn't a mistake. Now, I will say, this is again my opinion. I think they are indicating that Rick Flag Sr. is the Secretary of Defense. And I don't think Lex is the president. Although I will say I wouldn't be disappointed in that kind of storyline, because that is a thing in several different Superman media. It happened in Smallville type of thing. Like, I mean, maybe, well, I guess he ran as mayor, didn't he? But it's a thing in Superman lore of Lex running for office. Let's just put it that way. But I don't think I wouldn't necessarily upset with that storyline. I just don't think that's what they did. I think it just happened to be they showed Lex on that in that particular part. But at this, it's just too convenient that he's in a room with flags that you see delegations, or in like you said, in briefings with high level White House officials. It makes sense that they would show him here when they say that, and that'd be cool. You know, I like the connectivity, because we talked about this before. The James Gunn seems to be going for between TV shows, comic books, and the films that he's making. I'm cool with all of these things being intertwined. It sucks for people to have to watch all of it to get what's going on, but it's cool for us nerds to kind of geek out about it a little bit. So
My actions, I stopped a war.
Maybe.
We're moving on to where Lois is saying, you know, he's laughing, and he tells Lois, he's like, I stopped a war, right? And obviously we see these kind of futuristic looking tanks going up against these people that literally have like shovels and things of that nature. And he's saying it stopped war. Now, if you remember from December, when the teaser trailer, there's that same thing that showed the TV that said Luthor Corp. It says, you know, the Barovian military amasses at the border, right? So we know that that's what this war is the Barovian people, the Barovian military. As now in the comics before, they have, you know, there's a lot of internal amongst themselves fighting, right? So this is obviously, you know, some kind of uprising, or they're trying to dispel some kind of uprising. But we know that the Barovia is one of the fictional countries similar to Kondak, you know, Bialia, home of Queen Bee. So this is kind of that battle. Now, what I think is interesting here is, as we kind of go into the scene, the tank fires, right? And then it looks like we see Superman here, and he's getting blasted by it. And, you know, if you go frame by frame, you can tell that, and this is kind of where it dispels the aura that's protecting him, because you can see the fire interacting with his hair. He's obviously getting the soot on him from the explosion. However, if you go a few frames, you'll see that that's not the scene. He's not at, like, that's not the tank that fired at him. You see the building back there that you'll later see is when the kaiju just kind of blasts him. You know, that's that scene. There's people in that building, but it made it look like, it was great editing, because it made it look like he took the blast.
Took a tank shot.
And that's, you know, that's how he stopped this war, right?
No, yeah, you're exactly right. That I mean, you can tell the burnt S on his chest. And again, this is maybe more of a theoretical comic book canon type discussion. But previously, when you saw the can bouncing and the guy throwing the can off Superman's head there, he's wearing, it's the same. It's either during that fight or after that fight, right? Probably after, because it seems like everyone's pissed off. He's fighting the kaiju. Something happened, and they're all pissed off at him because he still has that burnt part on his suit. I think a lot of people, from what I saw, at least in social media, were upset with this scene, because they were like, Superman shouldn't have to block a blast. It's just fire, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and I told you before this is where I have a bone to pick with Snyderverse people. Okay, because they're primarily the ones pointing this bullshit out. One, I take the way I view this is Superman has been fighting this kaiju as a huge monster, which is cool as hell. I feel like it's going to take something out of him. Okay, maybe he's weakening, and that's why he's feeling a little bit of the heat. His suit's taking some damage, right? Even when he fights Doomsday, or he's fighting a dark side, he takes hits. Like, it's not like, you know, he just all of a sudden, his health meter goes down, but you don't see any damage and he just dies. Like, that's not how it works. This is why I think this whole aura thing is obviously we talked about is a thing.
Seemed like an orange, his aura or whatever. I seen it.
He's fighting, expending energy. His aura protection, whatever goes down, he can then some of the flames gets through and burns him. Right. The problem I have with a lot of the social media posts is they're calling out that shouldn't happen. He shouldn't have to block. He should just. Do you guys remember in Superman Returns when Superman gets shot? They're shooting the machine gun, and there's that cool fucking scene where the bullet bounces off of his eye, right? Just bounces off. But also that's from Superman Returns, not from the Zack Snyderverse. Batman v Superman, when Batman kind of lures him in, and you see the two, I think it's two, like machine guns pop out of boxes or whatever, and is firing on Superman. He's like blocking like this, right? Like, I mean, it's a double standard. I'm gonna point this shit out because it's annoying as hell. Just that argument is dead as fuck. Don't come at me with that bullshit. So
don't come at him, bro.
Don't come at me with bullshit.
Public service announcement.
Yeah.
All right. So then, we see the Daily Planet, and of course we get to see Lois. We see Jimmy back there. We see Kat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool
Kat.
to see all of them. Yeah. Kat.
My actions, I stopped a war.
Maybe.
Not maybe, I did.
In effect, you illegally entered.
And he's talking about, he's like, I think this scene right here is cool because he's talking about, no, I did stop the war, but we cut to this scene right here. And what I love about this right here is we see the street name is Wade. Now, there are several times throughout through the trailer that you'll see the street names, and they like
Yes,
Mark Wade,
all big.
who
Yes.
most notably has done the newest. We've been doing the Justice League Unlimited. Okay,
Yes.
That's Mark Wade
Also-
right there.
Also, Birthright.
Yes. So I thought that was kind of cool. I like seeing that. And then, of course, we see that obviously he's getting arrested by Rick Flag Sr., Ultraman, and the Engineer. I thought that was kind of cool because for a while there, we weren't sure what kind of part she was going to play. Obviously, she's part of this group here. Now,
Yes.
the interesting part, too, that I think a lot of people may have overlooked or they forget is that Ultraman, because we see Superman get checked right here into the ground. Ultraman is he's the opposite, not a Bizarro of Superman, but he's the opposite of Superman. He is powered by kryptonite. It gives him his strength, which is, and also sunlight hurts him, which is why he's in a full black noir suit. And he's able to take Superman down. I'm sure there's some kryptonite on board.
There's somewhere near him. There's definitely kryptonite. Yep.
So it's cool to see that, and that's why he's able to put him into the ground, put him down hard, because he's ultra strong right now, Ultraman, and the Superman's being weakened. So boom, he gets put in the ground. She's saying, "Did you check with the president? Consult with the president?" And then we see Lex. And of course, he's in that Mantis had pointed out when we were watching. He's like, "Oh God, I'm so done with this conversation," and and he's trying to say he wasn't representing anybody. Now we see a couple of buildings dominoing. This all was from the teaser trailers where we see that, and of course he goes in and saves the little girl.
I think.
All right, I want to talk about something.
All right.
I'd like to say something.
I was going to say, again, this kind of all is intertwined with the people being upset with Superman, as we'll get into the social media aspect of this movie. But I think him fighting the kaiju, I think he was fighting the kaiju there, toppled all the buildings.
It would have had to have been, right? What else is that big that would have just knocked them down so evenly?
Yes.
And as tall as they are, right?
Yes. Yep.
I think this scene's great because I had seen somebody else had pointed out and made me think about it that Smallville, when I think it's season 5, Clark goes to save when the next meteor shower comes in. He goes to save the little kid and he wraps his arms around him. As it ends up being in the
awesome
credits.
Scene.
This ends up being in the credits. I think this is kind of a beautiful node to that of showing he's always just trying to help, right?
Yes. Another thing we want to see Superman save people. Like that's what he does.
Right?
Yeah. One thing I will say, go back a minute. I will say this, and I talked to Cal about this before. I don't know what the thing is about making women in modern movies not attractive, but Rachel Brosnahan is very attractive, and at least in the scenes in this trailer and what we've seen so far, they put her in some very modest outfits. Lois is hot, and I think she needs to be wearing attractive outfits, show some cleavage, show some skin. Again, I know here she's quote unquote, maybe it's before work, maybe it's after work where she's wearing her work outfit, and maybe that's why. But like, I don't know. Like we said, maybe she should be wearing some fucking pajamas. She's chilling on the couch talking with Clark. They're about to have dinner, a romantic dinner. I don't know. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. She's attractive. Make her attractive.
Yes,
Anyway.
I'm for that as well too. Strong doesn't mean you have to be masculine in clothing.
Yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing. If we go frame by frame right there, we see what is, and again, in the original teaser, we got to see a newspaper, and it says the Hammer of Barovia, right? And that's who this gold guy is. Now, I know when we did the initial full trailer reaction, I was like, oh, that's Lex in a suit, because it's not to say that it's not, right? This is who he is portraying, and because you will see later on that he's got the symbol, the Barovia symbol on him as well. And then, of course, that's what that paper was saying. Yeah. Now, when he is attacking this office building right here, we see these little drones, and we're going to see them here in a couple other shots that are just flying around him, right? But if you look on the screen over there on the left, there's a kind of distinctive looking symbol, and I'll have it zoomed in for you. I had to actually go do this in Affinity Photo to actually blow it up to where it's visible enough that it's going to make sense for people. The Chacos, okay?
No.
Now, we know, and you see, because on the one billboard over there, or on the board, on the board over there, it's being dunked in milk, right? And there's some on the desks that they're, so they're doing this ad commercial or planning for the Chocos, which is basically the Oreos of the DC world that we know are favorite of. You were supposed to jump in there, Mantis.
Sorry.
What do you think I was pausing for?
Sorry. Martian Manhunter.
Martian Manhunter.
Well, Martian Manhunter does like them as well. There's a definitely. Yeah. Did we do a video on this?
We did, and it's called Oreos or Choco. Or Tacos. But it was. So I thought that was kind of cool that you see that in there. That they just threw that little thing in there. Now, right there,
that's very cool. Yeah,
we see. So obviously, we got the Hammer of Barovia there. We see the drones flying around. Now, there's a lot of speculation that it's because those drones are filming this. Right? There's this attack again. We had the paper that said the Hammer of Barovia attack devastation. Right? That this is a part of the smear campaign because again, Superman. He got in the middle of that conflict, and everybody's like, "You entered the country illegally, blah blah." And this could be before he gets arrested. We don't know, but that this guy came to avenge the fact that he got involved in their country's conflict, right? So again, all part of the smear campaign that's making Superman look bad.
Yeah, so we don't, like you said, that this is a brand new villain. This is not someone that's previously in any comics.
This is an original villain,
and we don't know. Here's the thing, too: we don't even know who's in the suit. It could be a robot, but there also could be someone in that suit. We just don't know.
Well, now, if you go back right here where he starts lasering, if you look in the reflection right above, you'll see that it's two beams comes out, and then it kind of looks like it ends up going into one big one as a blast. Now, we also know Ultraman's in this, right? So could it be Ultraman in it? Could it be Lex in it? We don't know. Ultraman would make the most sense since he basically has Superman's powers. And it's two beams, so obviously it's heat vision of some form. So we don't know, but it is cool that we see that, and obviously, then he's saying, "Hey, these people are going to die." The next thing I think is cool is we see him hit the ground. Right, we see the MMA, right, which is the Metropolis Museum for Modern Arts. Now, I think what's cool about that, when you look on the windows over on the left-hand side, we see birds. What look like birds, at least. As we move closer to the right-hand side, we see what look like planes. So, bird, plane, boom, then lands Superman, and he crashes into the ground.
Yeah, and this fight, I think, is continuation of him fighting the Hammer Barovia. If you go a little further, you'll see his chest is not burnt. So, I don't think he's fighting the kaiju here.
Yeah, it's not the kaiju fight. Now, I do think what's interesting is, so right now we know there's been the smear campaign against Superman, right? We see him. Yeah, his suit's not messed up right now, so it's definitely before the kaiju fight or after, long after.
Mhm.
But we see this random guy go down to help Superman to pick him up. And that is where we first get the John Williams score. We first get that what sounds like the original Superman theme, right? And
Mhm.
my feeling is because we have this person, this regular average human that is going down to go help Superman, regardless of the smear campaign that's going on. He still believes in Superman and what Superman stands for. Could be
Yep.
wrong.
Yeah. It's a metaphor or a metaphor. It's a symbolism of humanity also helping Superman, because I mean Superman is the guardian of humanity. He's here to help humans, even though he's not one. And in this scene, he got his shit kicked in a little bit there, right? And a random human, random person he doesn't know comes up and is like, Superman, let me, he's helping him up. It's that hope, feel good type of thing there that you want in a Superman film as well. So I did like that.
So then when we kick on to the next scene, this is where we see Superman. He's in the burnt suit. We see the building is
Mm.
burnt in the background. Now, this is the building when we saw it looked like he was blocking what we, what it's made to by editing, beautiful editing, to believe that it's the tank that fired. That's where it was the kaiju. And that's why he says, "Hey, buddy, eyes up here," which is a nice little joke.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
we see the building that was fired in the background, and then he goes upward. That's the kaiju he's fighting, and that's why he's like, "Hey, buddy, eyes up here," and he flies upward to get the blast away from people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
So now here's another one that I could be completely wrong on. So we see as he goes past this building, right? We see it says Lord, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we see that symbol, and that's the symbol that's on Guy Gardner and Hot Girl and Mr. Terrific. Now, a lot of
Yes.
people are saying that's the J. You can see the J, but then the L. I think it looks like a J, and then you could almost say it's a G on the right hand side for the Justice Gang,
Mm-hmm.
because we know eventually we're going to bring the Justice League into that, and that's not these initial people, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's going to be Justice Gang. That is just my opinion. Let me know down in the comments. What do you guys think? Is that, or is that actually a J and an L? Could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it is. It's at least specifically also based off of the spoilers we get from toys and stuff. Some of the marketing stuff that they've released from the market, or from the toys and stuff. It is Justice Gang, and yeah, that is Guy Gardner, Hot Girl, Mr. Terrific, and you can see later, like you said, they do change outfits. Some of the earlier pictures from the other teaser trailers, as well as in this one, they are wearing two different versions of their outfits. When I say Hot Girl, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific, they have different versions on. But even though the different versions, they do have Maxwell Lord's that symbol, and it seems to me like he's at least partly funding their, or in charge, or he has something to do with them for sure.
Yeah, so and I'm sure again we'll find out more about it as we go. But let us know, what do you think? Is it the JG? Is it the JL? I'd be curious to see what you guys' thoughts are. And make sure I'm not just completely crazy. And then of course we get a little bit of the fortress popping up that we got in the sneak peek, the teaser, the 5-minute teaser. But now we get to see the engineer. We get to see her in her nanotech suit.
So cool.
Blades coming out. But then we got freaking Thor's little brother over there, ready to protect, because she destroys the androids, the Superman robots that
Mhm.
we've already talked about. I do love that they have them in there. It's very, again, the whole thing is so comic booky. I love it.
Yes, the engineer, Angela Specia. I don't know the last name of the character.
That's the actual engineer.
Yeah, the actual engineer, a member of the Authority, by the way. So I know we talked about this previously. We don't know if the Authority is going to be in this or a start of the Authority, but the engineer is definitely part of the Authority. I will say I like the way they depict her here. The actress is pretty hot. I like the way they design her suit, or I say suit, her out exterior. It kind of reminds me of like in science class in high school or middle school when you do the iron filings and magnets. If you kind of look at her suit, it kind of looks like that almost coming off of the sides of it. The fight scene there, she goes crazy, kills the robots, looks awesome. Crypto fights back and scratches her face a bit. You can see that tear on her face that it kind of opens up and you can see like the little nanites on there as well. Cool ass villain. The thing that's interesting here, because of the previous scene, you saw the engineer walking with Rick Flag Sr. and Ultraman and Superman's being arrested. We have to assume it's with the government, but she's here with Lex. So, well, how the hell is that working? Are they all working in tandem on the side? Like, we don't know yet, but she's definitely involved.
Power
in both.
shift. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the one thing I will say about this too, and you get a little bit better of it here in just a minute, is when we're looking at the fortress, is like you see right there, it looks like there's technology, right? Like computer systems, mechanical systems, but they're highly advanced. One thing we've always seen when we see the fortress is we just see crystals, right? And he just puts crystals in this and it does all these cool hologram things. Whereas in the animated series, you get to see a lot more of where the fortress is technologically advanced. It's not just crystals. So you'll see the computer terminal later. It has the crystals, but there's actually a computer system there as well. I like that. Right, because it brings comic book to life without making it, oh, it's just crystals. So I did like that when we see the fortress, and of course Crypto. And now here's where we see Superman punching out of the containment cell he's in. However, I don't want to focus on that part too much because we're going to come back to that here in a minute, right? That's just, we've already seen that. We've seen this lady getting almost smashed by the kaiju and him saving her. I know there is the billboard over there. There's the news article, or there's the news scroll, and Mantis had mentioned that in the original where we had talked about our initial reactions to the trailer. But for time, we're going to kind of skip past that for a second. We go to this now. There's been talks about what this is, right? Our initial, we always joked around it's the Servitor from Destiny and all of this other stuff. And then there has been talks that it could possibly be Solaris. I think I'm saying the name right.
Yep.
Right. But then there's also been rumors that it could be Cersei, because we see that purple kind of beam shooting out, right? That's her magic. That's her normal magic color shooting out. And the green around is Guy Gardner using his powers trying to contain her in like a net. Now, because it showed up as kind of more of a circular servitor looking figure, I kind of lean more towards Solaris than that being Cersei. But we do know that we have seen Cersei in Creature Commandos. She was a big part in that. So it could be.
It could be both. It could also be she's controlling Solaris. But I completely, at least from what we saw, you can definitely tell that is Guy Gardner trying to use a construct to hold whatever it is back. You can see the beam emitting from him flying and grabbing using a net, right? Like that's totally Green Lantern right there.
So we cut to the next where we see Mr. Terrific. He's getting off his ship. And then we see him fighting multiple people, or I should say it looks more like the Lex robots. Yeah. And the T-spheres are taking him out, and then he's got his force field, and he's protecting Lois. And now this is what I mean about, look, those consoles look real, and then there's crystals, right? I like that.
Yeah, little USB drives.
Yeah, little USB drives. And then we see, obviously, we go to the scene where Clark's laying in his boyhood bed. We got Ma and Pa Kent. And Mantis had pointed out, too, that obviously we see there's that darkened green look. Obviously, there's some kryptonite poisoning going on. We know it exists. And why else would he be in his boyhood bed? Now, here's interesting. So this is another one. And Mantis was very quick to point out, we know, obviously, Metamorpho is there. And Mantis pointed out, we see his green left hand, right? Which obviously is kryptonite. We know that Metamorpho can, change the chemical properties within his body. So we know that that's what's subduing Superman. However, these are Lex bots.
They are. You can see it. Well, they have the LC, don't they?
When you get to right about there, you see LC, right? So we know Luthor Corp. Right. Yeah. So it's funny that Metamorpho was keeping him in there. However, pay attention to when you go back a couple scenes where you see Metamorpho and it looks like he's got this icy blue look down his left side, but then it goes to the kryptonite hand. We know that his body multiple parts of his body can change into more complex compounds and elements at will. Like it's not just he has to be all one or another.
Right.
right? And that's obviously why Superman's getting his ass whooped there. And we do see that, I mean, it looks like there's hundreds of these different cells,
Yep.
right? And because it's Luthor Core, or we got the Luthor Core bots, it makes me think 33.1 from Smallville, right?
Kind of, yeah.
He's gathering all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a meta-human prison, quite clearly. You know.
And then here, now this is interesting because we've seen parts of the stadium fight before, but when you slow it way down, right there, the blade cuts off part of his hair.
Yeah, you can see it.
You can see it.
Yeah,
you can see where it snipped. So the blade, the engineer's blades, the nanotech blades that she makes, actually chop off a little piece of his hair, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and then he's blocking the others, and then boom, gets taken down.
Him. Yeah.
Now, here's the other part. So when I talked about whatchamacallit, Metamorpho in there, where he's got the blue crystalline structure on him, but then it goes to the kryptonite hand. What do we see right here that's parting the harbor there, right? It's that blue crystalline. It looks like the part of, so it could be Metamorpho and him trying to break out, because we know at some point when we saw Superman punching out of the glass, Metamorpho's got to make the decision to stop with the kryptonite, you know, and let Superman out. That's why he gets the strength back to be able to punch out of there. So maybe this is him breaking out, or maybe breaking everybody out of 33.1. Not saying
could
that's
be
what it's called, but
we'll just call it prison.
Yeah, the prison here. And then, of course, you know, a lot of the rest of it here, we get some of the scenes of, you know, what we've seen in past, except
I'm here for this. I like this. I like this. I want to see Superman fight some big fucking monster. Like, I'm all in on this fight scene stuff. And yeah, maybe did we mention this in the past about having Christopher Reeve's son?
We've done a video where his son. We knew his son was going to show up as a reporter. However, in this scene here, that's what's on the billboard back there, right? That's Christopher Reeve's son is the news anchor in this world, and that's what you see there, which is a lovely nod to Christopher Reeve. I love that they had that in there. Now, here's the next scene that I do love. So we see Guy Gardner, right? You know,
this is the war.
Yes, this is the war. This is the Barovian War, the conflict that Superman was in. Now, what I do love about this is he does that kind of boom, and then we see the big green hand, and it swipes people away. Now, one of the things we've always said with Green Lantern is his powers look very cartoonish. They look like when in the original Green Lantern movie, he's making a racetrack. You know, it doesn't look cool. It looks really kiddish, right? Where this just being a big ass hand that swipes them away, I feel like that is a very Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner-ish kind of thing. Of boom, bitches. But it doesn't look childish. It looks realistic. Like, oh yeah, cool, big ass hand, just bitch smack these guys.
Yeah, he's like, get away from me, peasant, or little fly. You're buzzing around me, whatever. Boom. Yeah, and it is. I was kind of interested, and I'm sure we'll get to see. We already saw him with the net, with the servitor looking thing, or Solaris. Here you get to see him use the construct creation as his hand as he's flapping away. I wonder if that's it can't be the only extent of it, because Green Lantern is such a cool option. Like, you know, we always talk about it's like the abilities that he has, some of the cool shit that he can do. I was interested to see what they're gonna, if there's anything else in this film that they show his powers on.
Well, and you do see, so like he does the blast like in that building, and I gotta assume maybe that's Stag Industries, because the Superman looks like he's in that burnt after the kaiju fight, and then he goes into the building when we saw he was headed towards Stag, and then he puts that barrier up around him. So I gotta assume that, which again adds more of a realistic look to his powers as far as what he's using it for.
Sorry, I just realized this. Who the hell is Hot Girl putting through this window?
Well, the funniest thing with that is, and it's hard to, like, as I show frame by frame, you can tell it's somebody who's bald, right? But it's difficult to tell if that is
who. Yeah,
is that Lex? Is that who could that possibly be? But so Hot Girl, like, literally, he does Nathan Fillion does. We see it's a bald guy.
It has to be Lex. He's wearing a suit, right? That's a suit.
He's wearing a suit. She takes him out of these very Russian cathedral-looking buildings.
That or it could be, yeah. I mean, it does look like Russian or just some sort of like Arabian Nights type thing as well. It could be, but yeah.
we get a
And
little bit of Jimmy and Clark kind
Jimmy
of
and
playing
Clark.
around.
This is Goofy Clark, right? Goofy Clark.
So this is Tess. Now
Yeah.
she's taking a selfie. Now this is where we see that's the Hammer Barovia, right? Again, we see the little drones around him, right? Part of that smear campaign. They're getting evidence and they're showing this destruction.
Yeah.
Again, all to kind of make Superman look bad.
That-
Now, here's again where we get Metamorpho, and you can tell like his body, the two halves of his body, which one part looks kryptonite-ish, and the other part looks like what we saw that was kind of starting to separate the water there, right?
Yeah, if you go back to where you see Mr. Terrific and Lois, pause it on that screen, because here's something too that this has come out from the leaks right here. A lot of people are speculating this is a portal to another dimension that we know is shown up in Peacemaker. It's gonna, I'm assuming it's probably going to be in Peacemaker season 2 as well. And Lex is rumored that with the smear campaign that Lex has got a army of monkeys doing like
Call center work. We said that in the
yeah. And I wonder if this is where they're going into this alternate universe type thing here, and this is the portal to get through there. I don't know why Lois would be with Mr. Terrific, but this looks wild right here. So
well, this has to be after. So we know we saw, and we know from the original pictures that when he's saving her on the sand in the sand, and the T spheres are taking out the what looks to be the LexCorp or the Luthor Corp bots, because again, there's that truck back there from the original pictures that has Luthor Corp on it, and he's got the red force field. He's there with Lois, so maybe this is right after that.
Could be, yeah.
Now and then, of course, we get this is the iconic. They did the fly up. I want to get through this real quick because now, obviously, we see Superman fly up, and this had to be right after when he, the civilian picks him up and all this, and he goes up, but he comes right back down because we see he is getting literally sent right back down. Boom.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she says, "Oh, you have a dog," and we see Crypto and all this. Do what?
That the thing on his wall there, what is it? The poster for
Guns.
Yeah. So that poster has been in. I want to say the mighty what is it? The Crab Joys. That's actually in Creature Commandos as well. And it's kind of I guess maybe a little running joke. If you watch Creature Commandos, it's in
if you watched where we talked about Gunn. Mansis had pointed out that he was even in Creature Commandos because we were doing the behind the behind the scenes. We did a couple of videos that Mantis was saying, Gunn, he's in everything right now, like that he's kind of So
yeah, Mighty Crab Joys.
Yeah, right. We get so that's just kind of our little bit of a breakdown / I know we went on kind of about, some of the things that tie into that, but, that's kind of one of those things that when you're real, again, they happen so fast. Again, I had to break this down. I mean, we are literally, as we're watching this, I'm going frame by frame on some of this stuff, legitimate frame by frame. Most people aren't going to catch. Most people who aren't comic book nerds aren't even going to know what those mean. And they're not going to mean, but I feel like they're added in there for the guys like us that love that stuff, that it adds just that little extra. Just that little extra.
Gang, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra.
I don't know. That was just our take on it, guys. Let us know. Were there Easter eggs that we didn't point out? Now, again, we weren't able to point out every because the video is already running extremely long. But that was just... Yeah, that was just some of the things that we saw that, as we painstakingly watched the trailer, like I said, damn near frame by frame, that we're just like, hey, and it led to the revelation that changed Mantis's opinion. So where on the meh meter are we at now, Mantis?
Yeah. Like I said, when we first started this, this is like an ode. I feel like this movie is going to be a nod to comic book fans, which may not be the best for the box office. But again, going through all of the little Easter eggs in here, like right now, the Smallville Giants pennant he's got above him, he's laying there, like that's Clark's high school football team in Smallville. Like there's so many little details that if there is one thing that James Gunn, James Gunn loves himself some James Gunn, but he does know the comic book origin stuff that people want to see, and I'm here for that. And this trailer kind of grew on me. Again, the shots, of him when he's fighting the kaiju, he's flying up. Those shots are awesome when he goes and saves a lady from getting stepped on. It's that sweeping shot of him coming in and saving her. It just looks very cool. The action shots in this movie, I think, are going to be good. Yeah, it's just I kind of sold it a little short. Again, this. We talked about this before, guys. My expectations for films are pretty high, so it's hard for me to if awesome is way up here. Well, mediocre is maybe some people's great. But this trailer grew on me a little bit. I like it. I like all the acting's going to be good. Again, for a comic book movie, acting's usually kind of not talked about. But I think Rachel Brosnahan's good. After watching David Cornsweet act both as Superman and as Clark in this trailer, I think he can do both. Maybe not. It doesn't have to be Christopher Reeve good, but I think he can do it well enough that you can get that distinction of why that is so important and why that needs to happen. I think James Gunn understands it, and I think David Cornsweet is going to pull it off. So,
now, to be fair, other than him saying where he acted, even though he was still dressed as Clark and he was, Miss Lane, and when he says "Crypto home," take me home. We actually haven't heard him speak as Superman other than those lines, right? And again, the ones he was still dressed as Clark. So yeah, and eyes up here. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But I think he's doing a good job on it. Guys, I'm going to try to cut this down a little bit to keep it from feature length film length.
Look,
if you,
this is all for comic book people, guys. If you want all the Easter eggs, they're here. And I'm sure we missed some, like Cal said, but let us know in the comments.
I'll put in some chapters for you guys if you want to skip around. Just so. I think you should watch the whole 50 minutes.
Yeah,
deal with
awesome.
At least listen to it, man.
Get
YouTube Premium, and then you just turn your fucking phone off and just listen.
Yeah, get a drink, chill out, watch it with us.
I already went through one here. But if you have made it with us this far, we definitely appreciate it. And if you've done that, you might as well go ahead and give the video a like. He is showing you where. I guess for our safety and ease of viewing, I can go ahead and take that down to a regular screen. Subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the videos that we have done, plus that are coming up, because we have been, Mantis and I, we have recorded more videos in this last week and edited in this last week than we probably have in the last 3 combined. So we've been putting out a lot of content because not only do we have this, we also have everything going on in the comic book world, as we referenced Justice League Unlimited, Mark Waid, that we saw in there as well. We just recorded some issues within the Absolute Universe solo, by the way. So you will get alerted when we release all of that, and then let us know down in the comments, how did you not only feel about the trailer, but our breakdown, and include the things that maybe you saw that we missed.
Yeah, because we didn't see everything, for sure, I know. Or if there's stuff that we missed in the previous 2 trailer, or the teaser and the sneak peek. If there's any Easter eggs in there that we didn't touch on, let us know, because I'm all about finding all the goodies and the little bugs under the rocks when you lift them up. So
absolutely. And guys, because of time, that is going to wrap it for us on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, we will see you then.
Later.